Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Misfits and Mysteries Podcast. You guys know the drill by now. It's a weekly podcast where we take you through the world's wackiest phenomena, from Bigfoot and aliens to psychology and history and everything in between. But this week, it is a special week. It is spooky season, Halloween week. So we're so excited. We're your hosts, Emmy
and Steve.
So, Steve, what do you have lined up for our Halloween episode?
Well, I wanted to sort of go away from what we've been doing traditionally because it's a Halloween special. I want to focus on more Halloween-y things. So I was just thinking, what's more Halloween than Halloween specials? And what's more Halloween and Halloween special than being terrified of things that are objectively not scary when you're like a little kid that are hysterical now? We should cover some fun things like irrational fears you had as a child. I had a lot of them. There are a lot of things that I should have been afraid of that I wasn't. And there are other things where I'm just terrified of them, even still a little bit, that just aren't that scary. And then I think we're going to wrap it up with some fun urban legends. We're even going to get an obscure one from my hometown, or I guess right outside of my hometown. Yeah, so are you doing anything fun for Halloween 2020 this year, Emmy?
Well, Halloween is a big holiday in my family because it's my mom's birthday. So we always do a family party, and growing up, it was always a huge deal. Like, we would prepare for months. So that's why I've been so psyched. I've had my costume planned since September 1st. I am just like so ready to go.
That's incredible.
Yes. And can still have like a COVID-friendly gathering with family, which is good.
Yes, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
I don't really have a Halloween costume picked out. Growing up, we did Halloween like pretty crazy, and it was fun. But as I've gotten older, especially now where I'm living at home and during a pandemic, we don't really celebrate Halloween much anymore, especially because the house we live in now, there are absolutely no children in our neighborhood. And we live on we live off of a very, very, very busy street, and no one's coming to trick or treat here except for the first year we had this house. Of course, people trick or treated. My parents had no candy because they're told no kids were going to show up.
That's so sad.
And my parents turned off all the lights and hid in their room because they were really afraid. And that's
what you have to do. You have to turn the lights off.
And they knew we were home because they were home too. Because my dog would bark and freak out every time the doorbell rang. So, yeah.
That's so sad.
Yeah, but this year
I feel bad. I was just going to say, I feel bad for all the kids this year. Like, a trick-or-treating probably isn't a thing.
Yeah, I know. It's good, though. No one's going to eat my Kit Kats, so.
Just buy Kit Kats for yourself and eat them by yourself.
My mom bought Kit Kats. She said it's for the trick-or-treaters, but I'm going to eat all those.
Well, yeah. That's one good thing we can take away from this Halloween.
Yeah, I'm also thinking of dressing up my dog as something because he's too old now and low energy that I don't think he'd fight it.
Oh, no.
And then my brother...
Do you have any ideas?
No, not yet. My brother wants to... Have you ever seen those videos where it's a dog costume? It's like a spider with the fake spider legs for like low-to-the-ground dogs?
Yes.
My brother wants to buy that for his puppy.
It's so cute. I love those.
They're kind of freaky, but I think it'd be really funny. He's a chocolate lab, so I really want him to do like a s'more, but I think he'd eat that costume, so best we don't do that.
Yeah. One of my coworkers is dressing their dog up as Eeyore, and she's dressing her daughter up as Winnie the Pooh. Mm-hmm. And I'm so excited for the photos.
That's great.
And she said, how funny is this? So they don't have any Eeyore dog costumes, or at least any that are big enough for her dog. So she bought her dog a sexy women's Eeyore costume because it's like not a lot of material. So it's like the perfect size for a dog.
They have sexy Eeyore costumes?
I guess so.
That's incredible. I had no idea they had that.
Well, the more you know.
Yeah, that's so funny. The only time we really dressed up my dog was when the Mets went to the World Series our freshman year of college. My brother had an extra jersey, and he stuck it on my poor dog, and Casey was not about that life, but we got some great photos out of it.
That's
of my
hilarious.
dad, my brother, and my dog all dressed for the game. It was pretty funny.
So cute. I love it. The dogs probably hate it, but so cute.
One of my sister's friends, actually, they have a bulldog, and one year they dressed up as Aladdin characters, so I think, and they made the bulldog, I think, was Aladdin. My sister's friend was Jasmine, and then her husband was the genie, which is hysterical.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I love that.
All right, so I think we should get into some Halloween specials.
Yeah.
And now a quick break for a word from our sponsor, Anchor. Anchor is one of the easiest ways to make a podcast. It's what we personally use to make our podcast, the Misfits and Mysteries Podcast. It's one of our favorites because it's super easy to use and it's free.
They even have creation tools that let you record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, which has been awesome for us because we're not experts, but they make it super easy.
Another great thing about Anchor is that they distribute your podcast for you, so you don't have to go through the hassle of uploading your RSS feed individually to every single podcast hosting service out there. They get you on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, pretty much anywhere you can listen to podcasts.
And you can start making money from your podcast right away with absolutely no minimum listenership, which has been great for us.
And what's awesome is this is a tool that's super useful. Everything you need to make a professional podcast, you can find in one easy-to-use place.
So download the free Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started.
So now let's get back to business.
Back to business.
All right, so now that we're back, one of the things about Halloween that I love now and was afraid of as a child were Halloween specials. Some memorable Halloween specials that I actually enjoy before I get into like the funny stuff was, Community. I love that show. Every year they had a great Halloween special. They had great Christmas specials. They had great everything specials, but those were pretty memorable. I love the South Park Halloween specials. They're always really funny now. And I guess even the Treehouse of Horror, but those actually kind of scared me when I was younger from The Simpsons. But not anymore. I think they're good. But what I want to talk about, and I've been alluding to a lot on Twitter lately, is my fear of Alvin and the Chipmunks meet the Wolfman. Honestly, in general, that kind of freaked me out as a kid because they're gross. So
spooky.
Alvin and the Chipmunks meet the Wolfman. I don't really know what happens in that movie. I couldn't tell you, but I was in Blockbuster Video. I had to have been around 6 or 7 years old at most, and they were playing a VHS, I imagine it was, of Alvin and the Chipmunks Meet the Wolfman while I was in there. And I shit you not, I'd never been more scared in my life than that movie. I think I saw maybe 10 minutes of it.
Do you know what about it scared you?
There was a werewolf in it. What's not scary about that?
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know. It was one of the chipmunks. I don't know which one because I don't know their names. Is Alvin a chipmunk or is he like someone else?
Alvin is a chipmunk.
Okay, I've honestly never seen Alvin and the Chipmunks outside of this. Yeah, so I think one of them got like turned into a werewolf and he didn't want to be a werewolf, and that really freaked me out as a kid because I thought I was gonna get bit by a werewolf. Like I didn't like to go outside during the full moon or anything because werewolves existed. Yeah.
Oh, that's so sad.
Another great one is It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. So I had never actually finished watching that movie, but
it's not scary.
My imagination ran wild here. I think I saw maybe the first 30 minutes. Or is it even more than 30 minutes long? I have no idea.
Probably not.
Oh, I saw the first 10 minutes then, and my little brain at the time decided that it was a terrifying movie.
Oh, it's not scary at all. It's such a cute movie.
Really? That's hysterical because that's not the interpretation I had.
At least from what I remember, I don't think
it was
afraid of it.
I don't think it was scary. But at the time, I was terrified of it.
It's tough when you're a kid.
Yeah, I know. A lot of things that aren't scary. Life is really hard. You have no income. You're little. You don't know things. Everything's terrifying.
Well, even like, this is not a Halloween special, but like, have you ever seen the movie Chicken Run?
Oh, was that the claymation one?
Yes.
Yeah, that movie is freaky.
It's so scary. And like, you fall in love with the main characters, all these chickens, and then they start putting them into pot pies.
Oh, yeah. Did they ever get decapitated in that movie?
Yeah.
Just another tangent. Do you ever watch Wallace and Gromit?
No.
It's like similar claymation stuff. That one freaked me out, too. I didn't like that at all.
Claymation is weird.
Yeah,
Claymation is scary.
Yeah. It is. So another one that I was really afraid of, and I thought was actually scary until I watched it last Halloween with my cousin, was Scooby-Doo Zombie Island. That was really scary when I was a kid.
Did we watch that together?
No, we watched Cyber Chase.
Oh, you're right.
Which I was also really afraid of. So just a quick aside, after I watched Scooby-Doo Cyber Chase, which again, I didn't watch the full thing because I was too afraid when I was little. So I know it was resolved, obviously. But I actually had nightmares for months that the Cyber Chase guy lived under my bed. But the craziest part is there is no under my bed. My bed has drawers in it. So didn't make any sense. So
you just thought he was in the drawers?
I guess so. But I was just terrified. I had trouble sleeping every single night after I watched that movie when I was a little kid because I was afraid that the Cyber Chase monster was going to get me.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I was always afraid that there was something like someone in my closet or like someone hiding in my room. But I think that was more just my brothers. I just had so many older siblings who like built up all of this stuff, and I was just so spooked to be in my own room.
That actually reminds me of a story. So when I was little, I used to have this flashlight, and I used to actually be afraid of like the dark and stuff. So I used to also like this thing I could never do now because I'd be afraid I'd suffocate. But I used to sleep underneath my blankets because I was afraid of things. I thought I'd be safe under there. And I was afraid of the dark, so I'd use a flashlight, right?
Yeah.
And, obviously, because I need to see what I was doing underneath my bed, right? And for some reason, I think my older brother was just looking to cause trouble that night. But one night, he came into my room, saw I was using a flashlight. I don't know why he came in my room. We didn't live in the same room or anything. So he came in my room, saw I was using a flashlight, and then tattled on me.
You were using a flashlight?
I was using a flashlight instead of being asleep.
Did he get in trouble?
I don't remember, but I just remember him tattling on me for using a flashlight instead of sleeping.
Aww.
Yeah, and we were both little, but I just remember that. And it's like, fuck you. Why'd you do that to me?
My siblings convinced me that so they would help me like in the tub sometimes because some of my siblings are a lot older than me. So I was in the tub and my sister told me that there was this little man named Jimmy, like a little leprechaun that lived in the drain. And so every time I took a bath, she would knock on the side of the tub and be like, "Oh, do you hear him? Like, that's Jimmy." And for years, I could not take a tub by myself because I thought there was a little man down the drain.
That's so mean. Really funny.
I think she thought that it was like cute, but like
I don't think she understood that it was scary.
Yeah.
Did you have an imaginary friend as a child?
Not like in seriousness, I don't think. Okay,
I had a serious imaginary friend, and it freaks me out now knowing that it happened. My parents are kind of freaked out. So as a kid, I had an imaginary friend named Baby Robber, and he was a little green man.
Named Baby?
Named Baby Robber. That was his name, Baby Robber.
Okay.
And apparently I used to talk to this imaginary friend as if he was in the room with me. And I would see, apparently I don't really remember this well, right? I know exactly what he looked like, which is freaky, but he was like a tiny man.
You remember what he looked like?
Oh yeah. He was about the size of, I'll show you, but see my like microphone? He was about this tall, green man.
Interesting. Maybe he was Jimmy.
Who's Jimmy?
The little man in the tub.
Oh.
Did I not mention that his name is Jimmy?
No, did you? I must have missed that. So I had this imaginary friend. My parents told me like later they're kind of scared because I would talk to this thing as if it was like there with me, and he would do things with me, and I'd do stuff with baby Robert, right? He was always around.
Mm-hmm.
I think our babysitter was a little frightened of him too. They just vanished one day. And
What kind of things would you guys do together?
Nothing like bad, but we'd play together, we'd talk, all this stuff. I'd have conversations with this thing that didn't exist,
That's so interesting.
Yeah, and then I sort of didn't know it existed. My parents bring it up every so often. But
we should definitely do a segment on imaginary friends. That's so interesting.
Yeah, I know. I think it's good that I sort of forgot about it and disappeared because if I had that still or for a lot longer, that's probably a sign of like a mental disorder or some severe issue. So I'm glad that like schizophrenia or something. I'm glad that baby Robert hasn't shown up for a while.
Yeah. Well, that happens to kids. Like they like to live in they like to role play. Yeah.
Yeah. No, so that's interesting. So to circle back to something as well, back to the topic we're talking about is, so growing up, whenever we were in elementary school and we had the Goosebump books, I would never actually read them because I didn't read, but I would get really afraid of the pictures on the front. I would imagine what the story was around it.
Yeah. I would read the books, or maybe my parents would read the books to me. But I remember there was this one vacation where my parents had just read this book to me, and it was called It Came From Under the Sink.
Ooh.
And it was this monster that lived under the sink. And this vacation, we were living in basically the equivalent of an Airbnb, and there wasn't a lot of room. So I was on a cot in the kitchen.
Oh no.
And it came from under the sink. And so I just, the entire vacation, I didn't tell anyone why I was scared, but I didn't sleep the whole time.
Oh my God. You should have said something.
I know. I think I was embarrassed.
Yeah. So then another thing is, I used to be really afraid of the Goosebumps TV show that came out in the 90s. And let me tell you what, Emmy, I fucking love Goosebumps. It is so funny. The premises now of the show, because the show is based on all the books, the premises of the show are just so absurd. And these little Canadian actors in the 90s were so bad at acting. It's hysterical. Oh my God. We got to do an episode in the future where we just watch Goosebumps and talk about it.
Yeah.
Actually, one time in college, just quick fun story. I was watching Goosebumps. Like, I was really high watching Goosebumps. And I was eating tomato soup. And I got startled because I was really high and just spilled tomato soup all over myself and just stained the shit out of my couch. It was disgusting.
Oh, that's tragic.
I don't even like tomato soup. This is the only thing I had in my room because I accidentally bought tomato soup instead of Campbell's chicken noodle soup.
In college, I'd watch a lot of Twilight Zone.
Oh, those are so good, actually.
Yeah, it's kind of like a very early Black Mirror type thing.
I mean, that's Black Mirror is definitely based off of the Twilight Zone, I'd have to imagine.
Yeah.
Because it's bullshit if they say otherwise, because it's literally the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
You know they're rebooting the Twilight Zone?
Oh, really?
Yeah, with, I can't remember which one. It's one of the guys from Key and Peele is doing it. I forget which one, though.
And they're, like, modernizing it?
Yeah, there's, like, rebooting it. But even so, the originals they still stand the test of time, the originals.
Yeah. The effects aren't always great, but the stories themselves are good.
Yeah, they're not really scary anymore, but the storytelling is great, and it's a lot of interesting. It's an interesting reflection on what was going on at the time because those all came out so long ago.
Yeah,
a much different world. Everyone had different fears and whatnot.
That's so true.
It's a really, really fascinating series if you look at it that way. I actually took my favorite literature class I took in high school was science fiction because it was just a bullshit class. Great senior elective. This is bullshit, but it was really fun. we read sci-fi and stuff. Great time. We did like a whole thing on the Twilight Zone, and it was really fun. Just
that's so cool.
Watching it, yeah, and writing about it. It was really cool. So then, I guess related to that as well, there are also a lot of things I was afraid of as a child that I'm not scared of now or less concerned about than before. For example, I used to be very afraid of being home alone, but
Yeah.
now
I still am kind of afraid of being home alone.
I used to, but now I'm not. I don't get afraid anymore. My house makes a lot of noises and they don't really scare me. Like, even if I don't have a dog, I'm fine. I used to be afraid. My old house used to be very afraid. I don't know why. The weird thing is my new house has a lot of like windows and glass, so it's like people could see me. The one thing I still do is if I'm home alone and it's late at night and I'm watching TV downstairs, even if the alarm's on, I don't want people knowing I'm in there. Even though the TV's on, it's obvious I'm there. So I'll like lie down on the couch and make sure my head's not showing. I don't know why. That's like the one weird irrational thing I do, but I have no problem being up. I think part of it too is I live in the attic now, so I can't live in fear up here, you know?
Yeah, you live in what would be like the scariest part of the house.
Yeah, I know. And it's like I live up here and I'm not afraid at all. You see my bathroom, right? With all the weird ass bathtubs and whatnot.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
friends are always like, "Aren't you afraid of that?" I'm like, "No. Why did you give me that thought that there's something scary in here? Like,
Yeah.
it's never even crossed my mind."
Well, I'm terrified of the basement in the house I grew up in my parents' house.
Yeah.
And still to this day, when I go down there, I like sprint up the stairs
It's so funny.
because I feel like something's chasing me.
I'm like looking around. I should be super terrified of this attic, but I'm not. A lot of scary hiding places.
Well, don't start thinking about it now.
Yeah, I did not think about it. Yeah, I mean, my basement is not. I'm not really afraid of my basement anymore. My old basement. Well, part of the reason I was afraid of my old basement is, do you know what like spider crickets are or cave crickets?
No, I don't think so.
Maybe you don't get those farther up north, but imagine a cricket had sex with a spider. They're crickets that have like 6 legs.
I hate that.
Yeah, they have like 6 legs plus their big long ones and they jump. So our basement had those. So I was afraid to go in our garage, but mostly because those things were just so appalling.
Yeah.
And my old dog, she used to eat them, so I'd make her go down with me and just point them out to her and make her eat them.
Ew.
And I wouldn't let her lick me after that because it was yucky, but like I was happy that they're dead.
That's ugh.
Yeah. I will say though, I am still a little bit afraid of the dark. Not as much as I used to be though. At my old house, I took out the trash. The side where our driveway was, there was absolutely no lights. It was pitch black, right? So when I was there, I'd always make my dogs go out with me, just in case. I mean, you've met Casey, but my old dog Ginger was tiny. No way they could do any damage. But I just felt better having a companion out there with me.
Yeah,
I took
totally.
the trash out. My best friend like lived up my street, right? And when I'd walk home from his house late at night, there was no street lights for a long stretch, and I would just sprint home, even though I was in like a really safe suburban neighborhood.
Yeah.
It was just too scary.
The dark is scary.
Yeah, because your mind just runs wild. There's nothing scary about it. You're just afraid.
And in my room growing up, I would see like a dress hanging on the wall or something, and I would just see this silhouette and get freaked out that it was a person, and just then there's no going back once you're like in that mindset.
Oh, I mean, I still sometimes do this as an adult where I'm like, I'm in bed now, I'm like, what the hell is that shadow? And I'll turn my lights on just to double check. Like I know it's probably like a lamp, or the armchair I have right next to my bed, unfortunately, gives off a freaky shadow sometimes. It looks like there's someone like squatting next to me, which is not ideal. But
No.
sometimes like if it really gets to me, I'll just shine a light. I'm like, okay, that's what it is. And I'm usually really tired when I go to bed, so I don't really care enough. But it's tough sometimes.
It can be tough.
I guess another thing is, I think my old house, this is a very irrational fear that I had, but near where my old house was, if I wanted to walk to town, I had to, or even walk my dog, I had to usually pass by this creepy, decrepit old house that this really old lady lived in. And it really wasn't that scary in retrospect because she was a really feeble old lady. And if she was evil and tried to attack me, I probably could have punched her and been safe.
Yeah.
But her house is just so freaky, and there's something so freaky about her because she moves silently, probably because she's so slow that
she moves silently?
Yeah, you never saw her coming. She always creeped up on you.
Ooh.
She's probably friendly. I don't know, but she was scary. And her house, her lawn was super overgrown. There was a big hole in her roof. All that stuff.
That.
My parents said she wasn't scary though. Apparently, she was like apparently the only like interaction they had with her is she was with her like husband. I don't know if he's probably not still alive or in the picture, but her husband, she would take him to like the rehab PT place that my grandpa was in after his heart attack. So it's like she's probably a really nice old lady that we were just afraid of.
Yeah. Oh, I have a scary story.
Ooh, tell me.
So it's not necessarily like spooky, but it was terrifying.
All right, tell me.
So this was before COVID. I was in my apartment sleeping, and my roommate was gone on a work trip in LA. And so I knew she wasn't coming home, so I locked the door and go to bed. And then at like 3 a.m, I hear the door to my apartment open.
Oh my God. I don't think you told me this.
Oh, I didn't?
I don't think so.
I heard the door to my apartment open, and then I'm hearing like no one turns the lights on.
Oh no.
And I'm hearing clanking in the kitchen, banging, like someone is opening the cabinets, and I can hear footsteps, and I can see the light moving under the door, like someone's walking around.
Oh no.
And this like fight or flight, I got up out of bed, I was in my underwear, I had no clothes on. I grabbed a hairbrush and I was like, I'm going out there. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. Like, what was I going to do if there was a person in there with a knife or a gun or something? But I go out there with a hairbrush, and there's no one in there. And
there's no one there?
There was no one there.
Was the door like still locked?
The door was locked.
Oh my God, that's so freaky.
Well, wait. So then I'm like, oh no, this is almost worse, because then I'm like creeping around the apartment. Is someone hiding in here? Am I going crazy? Was that a dream? And then you can buzz into my apartment from downstairs. So the buzzer starts going off. And that's just the noise scared me half to death. So I go and look at there's a little screen where you can see who's buzzing up. And it was my roommate.
Oh my God.
So I had locked the top lock, which is like a chain lock. And she couldn't get in with her key, obviously, with the chain lock on. So she was reaching into the apartment, banging on the wall to try to get me to wake up.
Oh my God. So she was home early from a work trip?
Yes. And I think that I messed up what day she was coming home. And so she was reaching into the apartment, banging on things, and then kept opening and closing the door. And like that was making like the light from the hallway go underneath. And it was the perfect storm. But I was ready to fight someone.
See, I know you made fun of me and you think I'm going to accidentally kill myself, but this is why you need an Army surplus combat knife. They're really awesome.
I recently bought a bat to go under my bed.
A bat works. I'm telling you, though, Army surplus combat knife. Way to go. And then you can use it when you go fishing.
But why wouldn't you just use a regular knife then?
Because it's awesome.
What's the difference between
this knife is designed to kill someone.
Knife?
That's the difference.
That's scary that you have that.
Illegal. You can get much scarier knives in New York State for a lot less. Army surplus, like, this was never, no one was killed with this knife. Because army surplus means that it was never used.
Yeah.
So it's fine. It's a cool knife, though.
I would hope not.
Yeah.
That's like having a dead mummy hand. Like, you don't fuck with those kind of things, you know?
Yeah, I know. So, you know what's just not scary anymore and just don't exist? Vampires and werewolves. Whatever happened to those? Same with like witches. Like, I never worry about those anymore. I used to all the time. They used to be like a number one
witches
concern.
are still kind of like a thing.
Yeah, but is that like one of your number one concerns throughout your day? Like, I hope I don't run into any vampires, witches, or werewolves today.
No.
I mean, when I was like 4 or 5 or whatever, I'd say when I was between the ages of like 5 and 10, I would say like top 5 concerns in a given day were like, am I going to encounter a witch, vampire, or werewolf? And how will I handle
That was one of your top concerns when you were a kid, was running into a werewolf?
Or vampire or a witch.
Wow. I don't think that was ever a concern for me.
Also quicksand, but quicksand like doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned.
When I was a kid, I don't know if I actually believed this, but I used to tell people that I was an alien. Like
I think you told me this, yeah.
like I just have this vivid memory of preschool going up against the wall and being like, nobody talk to me. This is not my planet. Like
Oh my, that's insane.
I think I was just playing, but
Mm-hmm.
part of me probably believed it a little bit.
Yeah. As a kid, I really wanted to grow up to be like a dinosaur of some sort, but that's just not, those are just unrealistic expectations.
Maybe in another life.
Maybe. I'm surprised I'm not a paleontologist. Like, if you ask anyone that I only knew in preschool, you bet your ass I was a bit of paleontologist. I love dinosaurs. I can't even name that many anymore. I used to know all the dinosaurs.
Yeah. Kids love dinosaurs.
Yeah. When I was a little kid, I got this bucket of dinosaurs for my dad, like a work Christmas party thing. And I got a bucket of dinosaurs, which was sweet, right? And on the weekends, I used to wake up at like 4 a.m. and I'd play dinosaurs until my dad got up at like 5. And then I'd go watch Looney Tunes. And then I'd eat breakfast. And then play more dinosaurs. That was my routine for the longest time. It's incredible.
Did you watch Land Before Time growing up?
Of course I watched Land Before Time growing up.
That was my favorite movie.
I love that.
Ever.
Nothing beats Scooby-Doo, though. I used to watch Scooby-Doo after school every single day. And it's like the original one because we're young enough that Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? All the classics. And the Scooby-Doo show and a pup named Scooby-Doo. And unfortunately, some Scooby and Scrappy-Doo. I hate Scrappy-Doo so much.
I was always more of a SpongeBob kid.
Really? I like SpongeBob too, but Scooby-Doo is my jam. I love that.
Yeah.
The biggest crime against humanity is that they stopped producing freaking Scooby-Doo mac and cheese.
I've definitely had that before.
It is the best pasta shape ever created. Scooby, Shaggy, the Mystery Machine, Fred, Velma, Daphne. I don't remember if there are any monsters in it, but I imagine there were. Maybe
there had to be.
Probably like the scuba guy. I don't understand. The scuba diving guy is like one of the most iconic villains, and there are absolutely no gifs of him.
Weird.
Yeah, absolutely no gifs.
You should make one.
I don't know how to make a GIF, but if I ever learn, I might do it.
Yeah. There's got to be an app for that somewhere.
There should be. There probably is. But I loved Scooby-Doo. That was my thing growing up. I still love Scooby-Doo. I still watch Scooby-Doo constantly. Especially now that it's on all of it's on HBO Max. I just watch it.
Oh, I'm just thinking of going back to why nobody's scared of werewolves anymore.
Yeah.
I'm sure you never watched this show growing up. It was like I think it was very much like a girl show. It was Teen Wolf.
No, I never watched that.
It was just so ridiculous. It was just like these high school kids who turned, like, the main guy who was like really cute turned into a werewolf at night, but like he was just living a double life. And it was half just normal high school drama show and half werewolf action scene fighting.
That's so funny.
It was just the weirdest thing, but I was so obsessed with it.
That's so funny. Have you seen, back on that track, have you seen the movie and TV show What We Do in the Shadows?
No, I haven't.
It's so good. So the premise of the movie is these vampires in New Zealand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they live in New Zealand, and they live in contemporary times, and they live in like a flat, and they're just trying to sort of live like a normal modern day life as vampires.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so funny. And then the TV series is a very similar premise, only they live on Staten Island. It's a really good show. It's phenomenal. I highly recommend it.
It sounds good.
Yeah. Oh, you know what else I was afraid of growing up? And I still don't like them that much, but you know, like marionettes?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I was so afraid of marionettes. Because I thought they were
so
going to come to life.
random.
Well, not really though. If you think about like Chucky and then Slappy the Clown from Goosebumps, back to Goosebumps, was a marionette. So growing up, I only knew of evil dolls and marionettes that came to life to kill me.
But to be fair, I think Toy Story also taught us that our toys came to life at night, and that always, I don't know if it freaked me out, but it made me sad.
Oh, made you sad? That's really funny. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
because
think
I
it
was
might have
like,
freaked
I'm
me
not
out.
paying enough attention to them.
I think it might have freaked me out a little bit. I don't know. I was always good. I always played my toys. I love my toys growing up.
Yeah, but then once you start getting older and you're not paying as much attention to them.
Yeah, that's
sad.
They're in a box right now in my closet. I hope they don't come to life.
You never know.
My Transformers might be staging a revolt and I don't even know it.
If I saw that, I would just be like, no, I'm going back to bed. Yeah.
Nope.
I'm over that.
Nope.
Absolutely not.
So now we should move on to some urban legends. I want to start off with one that I knew growing up. I don't think it's very popular outside of where I grew up. It's from a few towns over. I honestly don't know how I heard about it growing up because when we were growing up, the internet was a thing, but you didn't just Google things back then. Like we had like one big ass computer in my kitchen. I wasn't going to go Google this while my mom was watching. Like no way in hell.
And you weren't really on like social media either.
Yes. No, because I was too young for MySpace and Facebook, all that stuff didn't exist yet. So, and that's before people Googled things. You just knew urban legends and shit. I don't understand how it spread. It's pretty interesting. That's an interesting topic in itself to discuss. Just like how all these urban legends and stuff spread before the internet.
That's true. And I mean, on the internet too is interesting. My urban legend touches on that too. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about the Buckout Road albino cannibals. Buckout Road. The albino cannibals of Buckout Road. So there are a few different stories, but the one that I consider the real one, because it's the one I grew up hearing, was that, so allegedly, there's this town, it's like a few towns away from where I grew up. So this is why I don't understand why I've heard this legend, because it seems like it'd be too far to spread it by the internet. But whatever.
Yeah.
So the story goes that there's this road, Buckout Road, that you can drive to in West Harrison. And if you stop in front of the red house at the end of Buckout Road and you honk your horn 3 times, flesh-eating albinos come out of the house and attack you.
Wow.
And this is like one of those things where the beauty of urban legends are they're really, really stupid. And it's like, there's no way this is true. But it makes you think like, that's not a risk I'm willing to take as a reasonable human.
No, I'm not
because
going to do that.
Off chance that there is a cult of cannibalistic albinos all living in one house 2 towns over from me, that's not a risk I'm willing to take.
So do you think that this is an actual, like, do people live in this house and there's just like kids driving by honking at night? Because that sucks.
I hope not. I've actually never gone down this road because the thing is it's like a dead end road and it's creepy enough without this legend because it ends on a massive cemetery.
That's probably where the legend comes from.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting. So where the legend probably actually comes from is this is creepy in itself is so back I think in the 80s, kids used to party in the fucking cemetery and like underage drink there and stuff. Well, actually, I guess it was hard to underage drink when the drinking age is 18, but whatever. But like, yeah, so people used to party there, and they think that like from like what I've read up on, it sounds like the locals just were pissed off by all the kids just fucking drinking in a cemetery on their one-way road. So they just made up a legend to scare them off. And there's different iterations of this legend. The other two, I don't know if they're true because I feel like as someone who grew up in the area, if I only heard one iteration, not the other two are probably fake. So the other one is that there are these 3 X's on the street, and apparently if you drive over them, something really strange will happen to you, something like bad. It never said die or anything. Yeah. And that's because allegedly those 3 X's mark 3 locations that witches were burned at the stake in the 1600s.
Oh, wow. Oof.
But there's absolutely no documentation of this happening in that area. So then the other one is that this one is just fake news. There's no proof that a person named Mary Buckout ever actually existed or hung herself, but people claim to see her ghost, but there's no proof that she existed. So,
and it's on Buckout Road.
On Buckout Road, but conveniently the road's Buckout, and allegedly Mary Buckout is Mary Buckhout, Buckout.
Weird.
So I don't think that's real. But the actual creepy thing that did happen on this in the 1800s was on New Year's Day of 1870, this Isaac Buckout, this actually exists, right? Isaac Buckout invited his neighbor and his neighbor's son to like a tea party. And while his wife was serving them drinks, he excused himself to use the bathroom, came back with a shotgun, killed the neighbor, shot the neighbor's son, and crushed his wife's skull because he thought she was cheating, but she didn't think she was cheating with the neighbor. He just killed the neighbor and injured his son for no good reason.
Wow. Oof.
Then the guy was arrested, obviously. And yeah, no. So.
And that happened in this house?
I think it's this house. I think that's why the legend's there.
Yeah.
So that's freaky.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah, I know. Honestly, we can definitely go to Buckout Road and see for ourselves if we see the ghost. I know the cannibal thing's bullshit, but just in case, and also out of respect for anyone who might live in that red house, we're not honking our horn 3 times. No. Maybe 4.
I don't like to mess with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That might be a good YouTube.
That could be YouTube content.
YouTube video. Yeah.
The other thing is, if this legend's fake and if someone else lives there, that's just really rude to just honk your horn at 3 times. I'd be like, fuck you guys. And the other thing too is like, wouldn't you think that the FBI or I don't know, the local police would have eradicated the cult of cannibal albinos that live in Westchester, New York? Like, don't you think that? If everyone knows about it, all they have to do is just honk.
But are they actually like real people? Are they supposed to be like monsters?
The legend's just that they're albinos. I don't think there's. I mean, if
so
being albino makes you a monster,
yeah,
yes.
But, but that's just what I imagined.
No, I don't know. It makes no sense. It's a silly little urban legend. So let's go into yours now.
So this, I'm sure a lot of people know about, but I didn't know really the history behind it at all, and that's Slender Man.
I used to be so afraid of the Slender Man when I was a child.
I was so afraid of Slender Man.
I was a child as like a teenager. But now I'm not, because I know it's fake, and also it only fucks with children, and I am no longer a child. Despite living in my parents' house, I am no longer a child.
Newsflash.
Yeah. Newsflash, Slender Man.
Yeah.
I'm too old for you.
Yeah. I just remember someone telling me about like this 8-foot tall man with no face who would like lurk around in the woods. And I don't think I even ever like looked this up on the internet, but one of my friends told me that he lurks around in the woods. He'll like knock on your windows, and his whole thing is that he won't hurt you, but he will somehow like convince you to hurt other people or hurt yourself.
Oh, he doesn't actually harm you? I didn't know that.
No.
So did you ever play the Slender Man like Flash game, like the video game that's free?
I didn't, but
that's how I was
heard about it.
So
yeah.
Before we get back to that, when everyone who was getting scared of that was fraudulent, because it's the least scary game ever created. But what happened is all those YouTubers are like, oh my God, we're getting 1 billion views if we just shriek and pretend we're afraid of Slender Man. Yeah. And that just like built up how scary it was. But I replayed that at one point later on in life. I'm like, this is like the least frightening game I've ever played. Or I've seen like people who don't know like that it's supposed to be scary playing it, like videos of that, and they're not afraid. It's like, okay. People like PewDiePie just exacerbated how frightening it was by pretending they were afraid of a silly game.
Yeah. Well, I think if you like have the legend in your head, it's probably a lot scarier.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, keep telling me stuff. I'm curious.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Slender Man does not hurt you, but it's more of like a psychological thing. So he's not scary in the sense that like it's like gory or like you're afraid that he's going to kill you. It's like you're afraid that he's going to manipulate you into doing something bad. Mm-hmm. So the really interesting backstory of Slender Man that I didn't know is we actually know exactly when Slender Man was created. Mm-hmm. And it was in 2009, June 8th, 2009. There's this forum online called Something Awful. And the whole premise of this one thread was to create a paranormal image. So people knew that these images going up were fake, and like they were just seeing what they could do with Photoshop or whatever, was around back then.
It was Photoshop, I think. Photoshop's been around a long time.
Okay. Yeah. So Photoshop, and seeing what they could do. And then people would make up stories about the photo that was posted. So this guy named Eric, who had his like online name was Victor Surge.
Victor Surge, kind of cool
Victor
name.
Surge made this Slender Man image and put up this backstory that like 14 children had disappeared after there was this fire at a library, and then someone saw Slender Man there, and that's what the photo is of, the fake photo. And then he posted it up on this thing and just like didn't really think anything of it, and it just, people really liked the image, so it kind of blew up and took on like a life of its own on the internet. And so people created all of these crazy backstories that dated back to 16th century Germany. And we're like tying it into like all of these other legends and myths that exist. So it seemed more real, and like it just completely spiraled.
Yeah, I actually saw that there are some doctored images of what were the actual art were objectively just skeletons that people were trying to pass off as like images of the Slender Man.
Yeah.
They weren't. It'd be so freaky right now if something just popped up behind me.
I do not want to think about that.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it the whole time. I don't know why.
It's kind of in my head too that something's gonna like crawl across my floor or something.
Oh, I mean, you're in the city though, so that could happen.
No, it's something like spooky.
Like a cockroach dog?
No, I loved that dog. I love that dog so much. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, go back to the episode about
dreams. Episode 2. Yeah, if you don't know what we're talking about, go back to episode 2. Are you still there, Emmy? Hello.
Hi.
That startled me when you cut out so much.
Dude, we were just talking about, like, what if something like that happened? And then my phone just shut off completely.
I know. We're still recording. I never hit the stop recording thing. So
Oh, okay.
I'm going to edit that down, obviously. But, oh my God, that was startling.
No, that'll be good to include in the episode, though.
Yeah, I know. Just cut out, right? Should I leave the whole awkward silence time? Or I should probably leave the part of my, hey, your audio cut
You should edit something then that's like, Emily, are you there? What happened?
Emily, there? Hello? No, I said, hey, it sounds like your audio cut out. I said that. Wow, that was freaky that you...
That was so... The timing could not have been...
better?
Weirder.
Or worse? Whoever knows. That was frightening, though. I was like, oh my God, it's like happened?
Okay.
Where were we? You said something about Slender Man, like, psychologically harming you, I think. We can just pick up from there.
Oh, I was talking about Victor Surge.
Yeah, it was a Victor Surge. I said they had that terrible comment about something popping up behind me.
Oh, and no. We were talking about 16th century Germany.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I think that's where we left off.
Yeah, that's where we left off. Okay. That sounds about right.
Okay. So, yeah. So Victor Surge created this, but it took on a life of its own, and they made this whole backstory to it. So kids especially on the internet started seeing this and were like really believing in it. And I don't know if you've heard about this murder connected to...
Did you watch? Oh, it wasn't actually a murder. It's attempted murder.
Yes.
Did you watch the documentary?
No, I didn't.
So actually, I took a class. It's like psych and law, like a psychology and law class in college. And I actually wrote about the murder, like the case, and how it was problematic that they tried these schizophrenic children as adults in North Carolina, even though they're only 14 years old.
Yeah. So just to, I want to hear about that, but just to back up for anyone who doesn't know the story. So in 2014, so this was 5 years after Slender Man was created, these two 12-year-old girls in Wisconsin.
Oh, was it Wisconsin?
Yes, it was.
Okay, it wasn't North Carolina. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So in Wisconsin, they became completely wrapped up in this Slender Man thing and became convinced that they had to kill one of their friends, or else Slender Man would hurt them or get someone to hurt their families.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that Slender Man had threatened them and could read their minds and all this stuff. So these two 12-year-old girls, it was one of their birthdays, and they invited their friend over for a sleepover, just three of them. And they, in the morning, went down to the park and were pretending to play hide and seek, and then came out of nowhere and just started stabbing their friend.
See, if her friend had an army surplus combat knife, she would have the dead one.
See, that's why you shouldn't have those knives.
Well, they didn't have that. If the little girl had that, I'm not saying she would have had a gun. That would be too much. But if she had a knife of her own, she could have defended herself.
Maybe.
Just saying.
So yeah, they literally had like a kitchen knife and stabbed her 19 times.
Mm-hmm.
And not to be too graphic, but she survived and crawled her way to the road and flagged down a cyclist.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that's how she survived. But anyways, these two girls were completely convinced that Slender Man had told them to do this. But that said, one of the girls was later diagnosed with schizophrenia.
Mm-hmm.
And she testified in court that she had also conversed with Voldemort.
Oh yeah.
and the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, so
So
back into that. So the reason it's really problematic that Wisconsin, I mean, they have the same issue with if you're watching Making a Murderer,
Mhm.
what's his name? The boy who has definitely had a mental disability of some sort, who was obsessed with
yeah,
wrestling.
yeah,
So like it was really problematic. They tried him as an adult and got a false confession out of him when he clearly didn't know what was going on. But what
yeah,
was really problematic about what they did in Wisconsin with these girls is that they were both like 14 years old. So they should not be tried as adults. And at least the one was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And
hmm
if you're not mentally, like the reason that you can, if you plead insanity, right?
hmm
They can't kill you is because it's not within your control as a reasonable human, right? So like,
yeah,
let's say if you're on your meds, you wouldn't have killed this girl or stabbed this little girl. So
hmm
basically, what's really problematic about it is that they not only tried her as an adult when she shouldn't have been, but they tried a mentally unstable person as an adult. And in a lot of cases like this, with people with schizophrenia, because it's not their actual fault, they have like they have a mental disorder.
hmm
Well, there are times where like if you kill someone when you're off your meds or not on your meds, you won't necessarily go to jail as long as you're forced to be medicated. So like you have to go to like a place designated by the state and take medication. Because you
yeah,
can live a very normal life if you're not being told by voices in your head to kill people.
yeah,
It's like not exactly their fault. If you're like a psychopath or a sociopath on the other hand, it's a whole different story. They're not actually exempt from the death penalty because they can never feel remorse or feel bad about what they're doing. So they can never
hmm
like be treated. They can never like learn from being in jail. Basically, is the
yeah,
idea.
yeah. So I think she was sentenced 25 years in a mental hospital, right?
No, she was just in normal prison. That's the problem.
Oh,
She
I
was in
thought that
juvenile
she was put
detention
in.
until she's that was the. I mean, unless they eventually, I think they fought to get her into a better like housing thing. Not
hmm
better, not housing. Sorry, they fought her into like the proper prison. But for
hmm
a while, she was supposed to finish out her time in juvie and go into a regular jail when she hit 18, even though she's a child and should never have been charged as an adult.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, either way, even if she was in a mental hospital or not, 25 years, like that's a long time when you're 12.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's a really really long time.
But she probably shouldn't have stabbed her friend, so
Yeah, probably not.
not the best idea.
Yeah. You don't want to stab your friends. That's not really nice.
That's not nice.
Yeah. I guess the other thing is it's such an interesting internet phenomenon because it really spread and it has sticking power, right? There are a
hmm
lot of these like it's a creepypasta, right? So there's a lot of these creepypastas that really gained traction, but just never stuck around.
Yeah. Well, this one, I mean, it's like still kind of a thing.
Oh yeah, it definitely still is. I mean, they still make Slender Man video games, which is crazy
It's
because Slender Man was when we were in high school. That was what was that, freshman or sophomore year of high school? So that was easily 8 years ago, 10
yeah.
years ago,
Well, the murders happened in 2014.
2014. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
6 years.
so he's around. That happened. Yeah, and then the Slender Man was around well before that, so that's really
He was
crazy.
created in 2009, yeah.
Yeah, so that's wild. Um,
It's also so interesting because with those urban legends, you don't usually have something, you can't prove that it's wrong necessarily.
yeah,
But this, you have something to point to say like, all right, this guy made it up on this forum that's intended for people to like make up fake stories and fake photos. Like,
yeah. All right. So another thing that this made me think of is I never did it because I was always afraid, and I don't really want to. I know it's fake, but I don't want to get proved wrong again. Same. That's the same reason I don't mess with ghosts. Is I don't really believe in that, but I don't want to be. I don't want to be proven wrong.
yeah,
But did you ever do like the Bloody Mary thing?
I never tried it,
Yeah, I
but
never tried it either.
yeah,
I know it's fake, but like, is it worth the risk?
no.
Yeah.
I've done like a Ouija board before.
Really? I
Yeah.
would never do that in a million years.
But that's not necessarily like you can communicate with ghosts who are friendly. You just have to treat them nicely.
Yeah, I don't, that stuff freaks me
We
out.
would do that when we were kids.
Really?
Yeah, we had a Ouija board and we would just like do it in the basement. That's probably why I got so freaked out about the basement.
Yeah, it probably is. So I actually had a Ouija board. I never opened it, and I threw it away the first opportunity I had. I got it as a birthday present. I didn't trust that shit.
Yeah. I don't know if
And-
I would do it now though.
No, I wouldn't do it now. It's not worth it. It's too freaky. There is an urban legend about Ouija boards and like this demon that everyone got the same name from. I remember reading about it, kind of freaky. That's a topic we can talk about another episode. I just haven't done any research, so I don't want to read a Wikipedia article.
Yeah, no, totally.
All right, so I guess the last urban legend I want to go into now is the Arkansas dog boy. The urban legend of it is honestly less scary than the reality, which is like one of those situations where it's worse than like the story, which is not great. So in 2005 in Central Arkansas, these owners of this house, they owned the house for a few years. So they kept experiencing odd events such as lights turning on and off on their own. There were cold spots in the house, and they had this overwhelming feeling as if someone is living in their house with them. And so they finally reached out.
This reminds me of Jeff, the talking mongoose.
Yeah, it does. They finally reached out to the Central Arkansas Society of Paranormal Research, Casper, which I fucking love their name. It's adorable.
Yeah,
Casper.
That's so funny.
So basically, they finally called the Central Arkansas Society of Paranormal Research, Casper, because they saw a World War I soldier just hanging out in their fucking living room. They're like, okay, that's enough. That's enough. You don't want that.
Yeah.
That's too
No,
much.
thank you.
And then, so the dog boy of Quitman, Arkansas. So the legend really started. The first reporting was 2 years earlier. The contractor renovating the house at night for these people saw a large, weird-looking man one night with long brown hair, creepy eyes, and big arms, holding a cat in the back, like the sunroom. And when he walked through the contractor got really cold. The guy vanished, right? And shortly after that, rumors began to spread around this town of the dog boy of Quitman, right? Who had piercing eyes that could sometimes be spotted in the upstairs window of the house late at night, and it was glaring at them.
Yeah.
So freaky.
Ugh.
So all these ghosts and legends are kind of unsubstantiated, and it could all just be fake, you know?
Yeah.
But what's really freaky is the actual true story of the dog boy, real named Jarrell Bettis. So,
Okay.
the house was originally built around 1890 by the Garrett family, right? And then much later on, their son, I think his name was like John. There was like 5 names back then, so it's probably John. Then their son died in World War I at the age of 21, and his mother passed away at 28. At 28? No, that can't be right. I think his mom passed away 28 years later, because there's no way that his mom died if she was 28 and he was 21. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no.
So basically, the thought is that even though he's a minor character in the story, the thought is that maybe this dead person was just visiting, the dead soldier is visiting his home, and that's what the people saw. So in the Bettis family, I think it's Bettis, Bettis. We're going to call them Bettises. Bettis. Okay. So in 1951, the Bettis family, they moved into the house, and then they had their son, Gerald Floyd Bettis, 3 years later. So Gerald was always he was a large and very problematic child who always craved attention and was completely socially inept, right? Kids would bully him and steal things from him, and he would just make a scene. He was really bad at handling social situations. He always wanted attention, right? And as he got older, he only got more inept, and he began collecting stray cats and dogs, and people at school would make fun of him and call him the dog boy. But little did anyone know that he was not just collecting these dogs and cats. He was a rotten little boy. He was torturing and killing them. These poor strays. So he's a bad.
That's like the sign of a psychopath.
Yeah, and then so Jarrell in his like teenage years and older. So this is when he's a teenager. Actually, is when he started getting real rotten. Mm-hmm. He was a 6'4", 300-pound kid, right?
Yeah.
Real big guy. And by the time he was a teenager, he began to physically and psychologically start abusing his parents.
Oh, no.
He would regularly beat his father, and one time he threw him out a window, right?
At what age?
As a teenager. His father was 67, but his father managed to hang on until the police arrived. And the weird thing is there's no written account of how the issue was handled or why his son didn't get in any trouble. Mm-hmm. All that we know is that there's a police report that he was thrown out the window and the neighbor called him. Right?
Oh my God.
And this information all came out later once he was arrested. But he would frequently lock his parents upstairs for days or even weeks. And he would just feed them whenever he got around to it. And his worst crime of all, Emmy, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Marijuana.
How dare he?
Like all the other things were acceptable, but he grew and sold marijuana. How dare he? How dare he? In such a pure state like Arkansas. God damn it, Gerald. Awful, awful person. So next, in 1981, his dad passed away of a supposed illness, but a lot of people think that he broke his neck after being pushed down a flight of stairs.
Uh-huh.
And then so this was interesting. So the neighbors, this was kind of freaky, is the neighbors reported believing that Gerald had very strange, glowing, mean eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And they think that this could explain the, quote, large creature that still prowls the rooms in the hallways of 65 Mulberry Street. And then just for more, another thing it's about his sketchy character and how, like, you don't want to be around this guy is at one point his uncle had to help him clean up. And his uncle was so concerned about him that he asked to borrow a neighbor's, like, double-barrel shotgun to keep himself safe in case he got like rowdy, as he said.
Oh no.
Yeah. And then finally
disturbing.
Yeah, and finally in 1982, his abusive reign ended when his mom went into the hospital with a broken hip because he pushed her down a flight of stairs, right? Yeah. And a retired nurse overheard him slapping his mom around, like beating her up, and she heard him say, "I'm gonna have you arrested if you tell him what I did." So she had his mom put in adult protective services, and the police arrested him for abuse of elders, and more importantly, because he was growing marijuana.
Oh my God.
And he was
convicted. At least they got him. I mean,
at least they got him eventually. Too bad his dad died. And then he stayed in prison until 1988 when he overdosed from drugs, which I don't understand how he got those in the first place. But yeah. So
wow.
There's now urban legends of 65 Mulberry Street being haunted. And I read somewhere, there's more of the fantastical stuff, not was like really grounded in reality. But there are also urban legends of a big, beastly, hairy man with glowing eyes running around, like a ghostly man running after people, like a dog chasing them and like nipping at their heels.
Ew.
But yeah.
I don't like that.
I know, I don't either. It's freaky.
Woo. Dog Boy. I thought Dog Boy was going to be a lot more fun than that.
Hey, Abby, what was that noise that I just picked up on your end? That's freaky.
What was it?
I don't know. It was like
Oh, it might be just noise from outside, or maybe it's the ghosts.
Oh, Dog Boy.
Woo! It's Dog Boy.
Yeah, I thought Dog Boy was gonna be more fun than this. I'm a little disappointed, but yeah, that was Dog Boy. Kind of freaky.
That's very freaky.
Yeah, and Those ghosts. Yeah, Brian Weaver. Oh, also, I don't want to forget this. Our good friend Brian Weaver from Ghost Quest, his new book about haunted Massachusetts places is out now. You should buy it and check it out. Support
Check
him.
it out.
Great guy. And Brian should look into this myth when he writes about Arkansas.
Yes, he should.
So
yeah, ghostquest.net.
Yeah, check it out. So
Check it out.
I think we should wrap up this episode and stay spooky, everyone. Have a great Halloween.
Yeah. Have a great Halloween, everybody. Remember to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at podcast_misfits. And check back every Thursday for more spooky content.
Yeah, and we're on literally anywhere you can listen to podcasts. We're also on YouTube. I have to still upload last week's episode. I got a little busy with real life work, but I'll do that shortly. So you can find us on YouTube. It's just Misfits and Mysteries. Make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know how we're doing. Also, subscribing really helps with sponsor stuff. It just makes us look better. Subscribe to us on every single podcast platform you have. Boost our numbers. Give us more money,
Help us out.
Yeah, help us out. I got a mic. Emmy's mic's coming soon, so the audio quality is going to get really good soon, so you don't want to miss that. Listen to all the old episodes before we both sound amazing, so you don't think, oh, wow, they sucked before.
Yeah.
Yeah, and have a spooktacular Halloween.
Have a great Halloween, everybody, and stay safe.
Bye.
Love you guys.
Love you. Bye, guys.
Preview.